Hi, my name is Noel Davis with World Composting, and today we're going to take a look at the bin that has the ANC worms or African night crawlers and the hamster bedding material in it. Now, I have to say it's been 24 days since I last checked on this. I didn't typically want to leave it this long, but there is some surprising stuff going on in this system. I have something growing in here that I did not expect, and I didn't even know what it was when I first saw it. But because it was growing, it lifted up the plastic I have as well, and it looks like it dried out the system. So we're going to have to add a lot of water, and then we're also going to be adding in from one of my time-lapse videos. I was actually doing one with hamster bedding and African night crawlers, and we're going to go ahead and add all of that material into this system because this system doesn't look all that great right now. And then we're probably going to add some cardboard as I don't have any bedding to use. And we're going to try to get this up and churning again. I think that there's a lack of food in here and a lack of water for these worms, so we really need to get this up and working. So with that, let's take a look at the system and see how this is doing, and that way you can see what's growing in here too. So let's go take a look. All right, as you can see here, this system has a boat up, and you see these green leaves coming out the side. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off, this top section here. And as you can see, this is up pretty high, and it's very, very dry on the top here. And actually, there's some worms that are on the surface over here. You can see right over there. There's a bunch of worms that are on this part looking for moisture. We're going to go ahead and moisten this up, but first off, I just kind of want to give you an idea of what's going on in this system because this is quite surprising to me. First off, what is growing in here? It took me a little bit to figure this out. This is corn. We add some corn that we used in our hamster's cage. He has some little corn tablets, and they started growing in here, surprisingly. It's a fruit fly over there. But this, for some reason, when it popped up, it just dried this out almost immediately, and I didn't even realize it. So let's just dig in here a little bit. You can see there's still plenty of worms in here. They don't look quite as large. Still plenty of worms, but they need this moisture. That's drying out the system too much. Let me move that down just a little bit. And you can see this is hard and crusted now. So this material is drying out too much for them, and that's the problem. But with that, the worms are doing what worms will do. They're shrinking down, and I have a video that shows that when you have worms in a dry bin, they start getting really, really tiny. You need moisture for them to kind of perk up and get big. So let's just kind of dig around in here. First off, you can see, I mean, this stuff really started growing, and we're just going to fold it in there. We're going to see this probably in the other system as well when I go through. But you can see, I mean, like over here on the side, this stuff just started drying out immediately, which I haven't had that issue before. Normally it's been a little bit too moist at times, but you can just see material in here. Looks pretty composted though. I mean, really, you know, it's really starting to break down really well. This white material, which we added last time, is still there, which is the newer material. Let me just pull up my sleeve a little bit there. But you can see these worms are starting to move through this. They're doing a decent job. It's just that they need some moisture really, really badly in here. And we're going to give it to them, just not yet, towards the end of this video here. And you can see, look at that, we go around like crazy. Oh my gosh, going nuts. So, as you can see, these worms I think they're also starting to, I'm not seeing cocoons, surprisingly. If you see any, let me, in the video, let me know. You can see paper in here, they're just doing a really good job. Actually, seeing some mites in here too, it looks like. I don't know if you can see them in there, but it looks like there's some mites on here. The worms look a little bit weak, especially these larger worms. I expected to see some cocoons in here, because normally when things start drying out, they usually go into kind of panic mode, and they'll be like, oh, let's lay some cocoons, make sure the next generation's ready to go. Although I do see, as I said, lots of smaller worms that you can see. But we're going to make sure that this system is ready to go and a little bit healthier looking at the end of this. There's going to be a lot more moisture in here. We're going to get this going a little bit better. I've had some issues with drying out because of you know, the weather changes here. They come and go so quickly here in the east coast of the U.S. and just in general that it can become an issue. So first thing we're going to do here, as you can see, there's some stuff that's sort of dried on the bottom here. But we're going to go ahead and we're just going to move all this to one side, just like that. And then I have another system that I'm going to go ahead and add into one side here. This is going to add a lot of large worms too, but that's okay. So I've got this system right here. This was for a time lapse, and it worked really well, or somewhat well, the problem was it kept drying out. So I've added a lot of moisture to this, and also had a kind of a, I'm going to say an issue with some flies in here as well. I've got some cocoons, it looks like, in here. And the system now is wet, it's nice and moist. It's a little bit overly moist, which is good because this is overly dry, but we're going to go ahead and dump this in on this side. And this is going to add a lot of large worms. You can see these large worms. These are all African night crawlers. And this is also hamster bedding. So we're going to go ahead and dump this in here. As I said, this material is pretty moist. I've been adding a lot of water to it to just kind of get it saturated and build it up again because it was so dry. And then we're going to be able to mix this in and kind of get all this settled here. So what we're going to do is we're going to straight this out really well. You can see this is going in. This material is very, very wet. I really wet it down because it was so dry, as this system right here is. We're going to mix this in, get all these worms nice and happy, hopefully. And hopefully we can start getting more and more of these night crawlers again. Because we were seeing a lot, and now with the fact that I slowed down on these systems, they sort of slow down a little bit all around. So there we go. We got that in there. I'll clean this this tray out later. There's a little bit left over. I don't see any worms though. So we're going to go ahead and put that to the side. Now all the water that I added to the system, as you can see, there's just a ton of African night crawlers in here. Nice big African night crawlers. They look really good. They look very healthy. And this was all hamster bedding as well, pretty much. That was in this system. So now we're just going to kind of fold this over a little bit, kind of mix this in. Because this is too dry, this is too wet. We're going to have to add a little bit of moisture to this. This will hopefully get all these worms back up and running again. And then we can kind of start to separate them out again, as I did before. But what we're going to do here is we're also going to add some food. I don't do this very frequently, but this in these African nightcrawler systems, I've primarily been adding just bedding or the hamster bedding for these systems, but I do actually have some pre-ground food to give them some nice, healthy food here. So this is from my juicer. This is carrot, celery, spinach, and pear. So we're going to go ahead and dump that in here, just like that. And this stuff is completely free of any bugs or anything like that. It's pretty dry material, but this would be a nice material for them to probably chew on, I would think, and work into. And that way they have some good food in here. I do think we need to still add some moisture in here just to make sure that this stays moist. And then we're going to go ahead and add that, well, here we go, there's all that corn. And I'm sure this is going to happen again because we have quite a few of those corn cobs that we've added to our systems, or our hamster cage, because those are supposed to be treats. So, but I'm sure with the water and everything, I didn't expect it to grow, but hey, they're growing. What do you know? So that stuff happens. So now let's add some water in here. I'm not going to add a whole lot, but just enough to just kind of saturate a little bit. And it's going to still be on that heating tray, so it's going to evaporate up through the system a little bit. But what happens here is, these systems, especially without having you can see what happens when you don't have that plastic lid on top. They sort of just dry out. So with that, let me put it on. I've got my little label here showing today's date of 3/27, if you guys can read that. I'm going to go ahead and put that right here on the bottom. Actually, I should put it, since we fed on this side, I should put it over here so we can mark where we fed. And actually, let me put a little dash on that as well, so it marks that we actually added food or fresh bedding this time. There we go. So we did that. I'm going to go ahead and take these other labels off right there. We don't need those. And now let's put this cover back on and close this back up, and we're going to hopefully see this improve. I would like to start taking out worms from here again. I do have to do that to get one of my newer systems that we talked about, or not newer system, but a new African nightcrawler system going. I wanted to really start using my urban worm bag version 1 that I have, which has red wigglers in it. I really wanted to take all of those out and move some of these African nightcrawlers into that system and start using that. So that's my update for this hamster bedding system for red wigglers. Hopefully we won't see too many insects coming out of here. I did have that issue with the system that was used for the time lapse, but we'll see how it goes. So with that, I will keep my bug light around, and we did add the water with the BTI mix, and we'll see how this goes from there. So If you have questions, please let me know down below. And just as a reminder, Memes Worms now does sell African night crawlers. Please check the link down below in the description. Thank you for watching.